It's finally time to get rid of the OSB on the floor. We're going to put some actual wood flooring, well, not wood flooring, vinyl plank flooring in. And before we can do that, we have to do a couple things. Number one, we have to actually run our PEX across from where the water heater is going to be, which is under the sink, underneath up to where the shower is going to be taking that water. So we're going to run about 3 PEX lines under the floor. Then we're going to chop some of that OSB out and replace it with an OSB kind of patch to cover that gap. You got to drill a hole inside the cabinet on the bottom there for the PEX to come up, and then we're pretty much ready to go. Now, you might remember in the shower video, we drilled some holes in these frames for the PEX to come through. There's 3 holes in the bottom, but the angle is too tight, so what I'm gonna have to do is kind of drill those holes at more of an angle so that we can run the PEX through there, because I can't put a PEX, I can't put a 90-degree connector down there because I can't clamp the actual connector on. So we want to run an unbroken PEX line through the bottom all the way across and then into the cabinet over there. That was actually pretty easy. Okay, you see that? It's just a little too steep, so I'm gonna try bending this. PEX is somewhat flexible. It does hold its shape if you bend it, but it can also kink like that. We don't want it to be kinking, we want it to be smooth. There we go. There we go. 2. There we go. So proof of concept works. I got 3 of these. I'm just using scrap PEX here to test it out, but we're going to go get some full length PEX and run it all the way across to under the sink now. So you can see how easily it kind of straightens out once you apply the effort. That sounds cool. So we've got a few lines running stealthily under the floor of the truck into our cabinet now. Next step, we have to cut off some of the OSB on both sides of this trench and then patch it with a wider board of OSB that will support that gap. I messed that up. I really messed that up. Nope, can't even tell it's there. What PEX pipe? I don't see any PEX pipe. I want to explain a little bit about the heating floor system that we're going to be using in this truck. A lot of vans you'll see use a liquid-based heating floor system, which I think is a disaster waiting to happen. Now I get that, you know, the systems are largely pre-assembled, you just gotta pop it together, but the idea of putting tubes through the entire floor of my truck that are also attached to systems that run my heated air just sounds like a nightmare waiting to happen for me. You know, the motto with this build and with everything I've done so far is simplify, reduce variables that are going to lead to future catastrophe. So instead of going with a fluid-based floor heating system, we're going fully electric. Now I will admit this is easy for me to do because I'm going to have a gigantic electrical system in this truck, probably bigger than any system you've ever seen, and running a 160 watt floor heating system is going to be absolutely no problem for me for several hours a day. That being said, what we're going with is called the SunTouch Quiet Warmth System by MP Global. This is comprised of three main components. It is the wall outlet, the wall controller, which gives me the temperature ratings, on and off switches, scheduling. It connects with other home automation systems if I want to do that. And then we have the film itself. This is standard heating film that you would see in like a fish tank or any kind of pet terrarium type thing, just a bigger version of it. This is 1.5 foot by 10 feet. Has two main connectors for the wires, so we're going to have to figure out where to route. That connects to this, and then the power connects to this. So underneath that will be the actual underlayment. And I went with the actual MP Global underlayment provided by the same manufacturer that provides this. So we're going to get the maximum efficiency out of this electrical floor heating system using all of their own products assembled to the recommended manufacturer's guidance. Aside from the fact that we're breaking half the rules by putting it in a truck, so just forget about that, okay? What we need to do now is get this filament laid out on the floor. We got to figure out where the wires are going to be routed, how I'm going to route them to the electrical cabinet. We need to figure out where to route the temperature sensor, because there is going to be a temperature sensor coming from the console part into the floor to measure the actual temperature for on-off scheduling, things like that. So once we have all that placed, we can actually get the underlayment down, knowing full well that we're not going to have to backtrack, and then get the whole thing assembled. So let's go. So the ideal tool to do this would be a router, but I don't have any actual bits except for an edge trim bit, so that's not going to work. So we're going with option B, which is the handsaw. This will cut a channel wide enough to get, I think, they get that wire in there. If not, then we go to option C, which is the multi-tool. We'll just kind of chisel a groove into the floor. I think what I'm going to do is just come straight across and then underneath the bathroom over into the electrical cabinet, which will be right here. Got our temperature sensor here. I've already got a channel cut for it. And we're gonna lay it down right in there. Okay, so here's the laminate that we'll be using. It's a kind of a dark gray with a little bit of a brown tinge to it. Lighting in here is not that great, so you won't really get a good feel for what we're working with until we get a few layers of this down. We're going to stagger the install of the tiles, you know, one full size, one quarter size, one half size, one third size. So we're just pre-cutting some of these tiles. I've already got a few cut half size or quarter size, and we're gonna get a third size, 2/3 size. Finally time to say goodbye after all this time to the OSB floors. In case anyone is curious, this floor is called Woodland Lodo or Lotto, L-O-T-O. I don't know how to pronounce that, but I think it's only available at Home Depot. I think it's actually Home Depot exclusive. It's not even really branded, but it is only available at Home Depot. So I'm assuming it's one of those store brand type related things. I just like the color on it. It's kind of it's not full black. It's not full gray, it's not full brown, it's somewhere in the middle of brown and gray, so it provides more of an earthy look, earthy feel. First few rows are done. Starting to look pretty good. This is really going to transform stuff in here, I think. It's a pain in the ass to go under there, but that's going to be the worst part of the whole truck, so it's easy, smooth sailing from here on out. So we're getting to the point to where we're going to start putting flooring over the heating element, and I figure it's a good idea to probably test and see if the heating element actually works before we, put the floor over it. So I have the console here, and I have ripped apart a spare extension cable for computer power. And we're connecting the console just temporarily via extension cable to the cord that I've got in here. And then we're going to connect the flooring leads to the other ends and just turn it on and make sure it works. So connecting the white to the white here and the black to the black with a quick little twist nut, whatever, and let's plug it in, see what happens. If sparks fly, then it went bad. So that's good, we got no sparks. Just gonna crank it up here. It says heating. Floor sensor error, okay. So I do need to install the floor sensor. I'm going to unplug it and we'll connect the sensor. Okay, floor sensor is installed. Plug it back in. Floor is 66 degrees, 59. Let's heat it up. Let's go. Heating. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we are good to go. That thing is definitely generating heat. So I'm going to get this all disconnected and we can carry on. Wanted to mention here too that you can use multiple heating elements with this system, but I only found that one was going to be necessary. It's going to cover about 90% of the surface that I'll be actually walking on. So if you're thinking about using this kind of product for your build, just keep in mind that you can use this and lay them out in whatever kind of configuration you need to. We got the heated element covered. I'm not sure if the time lapse picked it up or not, but I did end up putting 3 spots of just small little beads of adhesive on the underside of that, just to keep the heating element from sliding around. This is PL3X, so it'll definitely withstand the heat coming off that strip and keep it in place. In case you're wondering about that board in the background, it's just holding up the last piece of the ceiling that I have because I'm waiting to attach the final section of ceiling, so it's kind of just hanging there for now. Closing in here, closing in. I got one more strip to do, but unfortunately it is midnight, and out of respect for my neighbors, I'm not going to run my table saw right now, so we'll come back tomorrow and finish that up. So this is a floating floor. What that means is that it's actually not really attached to the ground, and it's also got room for expansion around the corners. We got about 1/4 of an inch around all the sides so that the floor and the walls and anything else it wants to can expand and contract when it gets hot or cold in here. So We didn't go all the way to the edge, but that's how this is designed to be installed. So we're following the manufacturer's recommended install on this. That's about it. I mean, it's a floor. What else can I say? We'll see you guys on the next one. Don't forget to join my private community at technobarbarian.locals.com. We'll see you guys later. Really just a two-component heated floor system. We have the wall, we have the wall. What is this thing? What would you call this?